Hey guys, tonight we drift back to the fog-shrouded streets of Victorian England, where the air hums with the clatter of horse-drawn carriages and the faint whisper of silk gowns rustling in dimly lit parlors. You find yourself stepping into a world obsessed with ethereal beauty, where women chase the impossible glow of porcelain skin under gas lamps that flicker like hesitant stars. Imagine dipping your fingers into a jar of cream laced with secrets, feeling the cool tingle against your cheeks as it promises to erase every freckle, every hint of the sun's unkind kiss. But here's the cheeky reality check. You probably won't survive this era's beauty regimen without a side of slow poison, because what they called radiance often came with a deadly twist. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment with your location and local time. It's always fun to see who's joining this sleepy history ride from across the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step on to the cobbled streets of London in the mid-1800s, where the air hangs heavy with coal smoke and the faint scent of lavender water from passing ladies. The Victorian era wraps around you like a corset, tight, unyielding, and utterly fixated on appearances. Beauty isn't just a whim, it's a social currency, a silent declaration of status and refinement. You glance at the women gliding by, their faces pale as fresh milk, cheeks untouched by the blush of labor or sunlight. This obsession with fair skin isn't new, but here it reaches feverish heights, driven by the Industrial Revolution's grimy shadow. Factories belch soot, turning the sky gray, and suddenly a clear complexion becomes the ultimate escape from the working-class taint. You feel the pressure building as society whispers that true ladies must resemble delicate china dolls, fragile and flawless. As you wander deeper into this world, you notice how the quest for beauty intertwines with class warfare. Upper-class women, shielded from outdoor toil, naturally sport lighter skin, while the poor bear tans from fields or factories. You try to mimic that elite pallor, slathering on concoctions that promise miracles. Rice powder dusts your nose, a mainstream staple in every vanity drawer, ground fine to mattify and whiten without the mess of lead-based paints from earlier centuries. But oh, the irony. While rice powder seems harmless, it's often cut with cheaper fillers that irritate your sensitive pores, leaving you itching under your high collar. You pause at a bustling apothecary shop, shelves lined with glass vials glinting under candlelight. Here, the quirky side emerges. Some women swear by bizarre remedies like veal fat mixed with pearl powder, smeared on at night to nourish the skin while you sleep. It's slimy, cold against your face, and you can't help but chuckle softly at the thought. Imagine waking up smelling like a butcher's leftover, all for that supposed luminous glow. And let's not forget the cucumber slices, chilled and placed over your eyes, a fringe tidbit passed down from folklore, claiming to drawl out impurities like some vegetal vampire. But the desperation ramps up. You hear tales of women binding their faces in vinegar-soaked cloths, the sharp tang biting your nostrils as it supposedly tightens pores and bleaches away imperfections. Historians still argue whether this vinegar fad stemmed from ancient Roman influences or was a homegrown Victorian hack, with some claiming it did more harm by stripping natural oils, leading to premature wrinkles. You experiment in your dimly lit boudoir, mirror reflecting your determined gaze, but the results are fleeting. The sun creeps in through heavy curtains, and one errant ray could undo hours of effort. You resort to wide-brimmed bonnets, parasols unfurled like shields, turning every outing into a strategic battle against UV rays long before anyone knew what they were. Diving further, you sense the cultural undercurrents fueling this madness. Literature and art bombard you with ideals. Think of those pre-Raphaelite paintings where heroines, like Ophelia, float with skin so translucent it seems lit from within. You flip through magazines like The Lady's Book, pages crinkling under your fingers, ads promising instant fairness that make you smirk in modern hindsight. Ah, if only they had SPF back then. You'd slather it on without a second thought, avoiding the whole charade. You attend a tea gathering, the room alive with the clink of porcelain cups and hushed gossip. Ladies compare notes on their regimens, voices low and conspiratorial. One boasts of her lemon juice rubs, the citrus sting making your eyes water just thinking about it. Another mentions borax washes, a quirky household cleaner repurposed for the face, leaving a soapy residue that supposedly purifies. You try it, feeling the mild burn, and joke to yourself that it's like bathing in laundry water. Practical, sure, but hardly glamorous. The measures grow more extreme as you push boundaries. You learn of women ingesting small doses of questionable tonics, believing they purge the body from within for outer radiance. It's a fringe practice, whispered in shadowed corners, with tales of complexion pills that promise vitality but deliver queasy stomachs. And here's a light-hearted aside. Imagine popping a pill for beauty and ending up with a glow that's more radioactive than radiant. Victorians, bless their hearts, were pioneers in unintentional self-sabotage. Society's gaze weighs on you, judging every blemish. You feel the sting of exclusion if your skin betrays a hint of color. Doors to high society might creak shut. Balls and soirees demand perfection. You prepare meticulously, layering powders that cake slightly in the humid air. A mainstream fact anchors this. Queen Victoria herself set trends with her preference for minimal makeup, yet her pale visage inspired legions to follow suit, avoiding the vulgar flush of health. As evening falls, you retreat to your chamber, the gaslight casting long shadows. You ponder the toll of this quest, muscles aching from rigid postures that enhance the illusion of delicacy. A scholarly debate lingers in the air. Did this obsession reflect empowerment through self-adornment, or was it a cage of patriarchal expectations? Historians bicker over it, some seeing agency in the rituals, others oppression veiled in vanity. You sigh and sink into your feather bed, the day's efforts fading. But whispers of something more potent circulate. Arsenic, that insidious ally lurking on the horizon. For now, you drift on the edge of sleep, skin tingling from experiments, dreaming of a world where beauty doesn't demand such sacrifice. The fan hums softly, lulling you deeper as the Victorian night envelops you in its misty embrace. As the first hints of dawn filter through your lace curtains, you stir from that hazy dream of powders and parasols, your skin still faintly dusted from last night's experiments. The Victorian world doesn't pause for rest. It demands constant vigilance in the pursuit of perfection. You reach for your vanity table, fingers brushing over familiar jars and bottles, but today, a new whisper catches your ear. Arsenic. It's not shouted from rooftops, oh no, but murmured in the salons and scribbled in discreet advertisements, promising a radiance that rice powder could only dream of. You feel a tingle of curiosity mixed with caution as you uncover how this mineral, once confined to rat poisons and industrial dyes,
sneaks into the beauty realm like a forbidden lover. You start your day with the Morning Post, a bundle of newspapers and pamphlets arriving with the milk delivery. Amid the headlines of empire expansions and royal scandals, you spot an ad for Dr. Sim's Arsenic complexion wafers, tiny, innocuous pills that claim to purify the blood and bestow a pearly whiteness upon the skin. You pop one into your mouth, tasting the faint metallic tang, like licking a coin forgotten in your pocket. It's subtle at first, a warmth spreading through your veins, making your cheeks flush before settling into that coveted pallor. This isn't some overnight fad. Arsenic's rise traces back to the early 1800s, when Austrian peasants noticed miners with unusually clear complexions despite their grueling work. Word spreads like wildfire, or should I say like a slow-burning toxin, across Europe, reaching England's shores by the 1840s. Diving into this allure, you visit a discreet chemist shop tucked away on a side street, away from prying eyes. The air inside is thick with the scent of herbs and chemicals, shelves groaning under vials labeled with Latin names. You ask for the wafers, and the apothecary nods knowingly, sliding a box across the counter. "For the lady's glow," he mutters with a wink. Mainstream history notes that by the mid-Victorian period, arsenic was legally sold in various forms, from soaps to lotions, as part of the burgeoning cosmetic industry fueled by mass production. Factories churn out these products, making them accessible to middle-class women like you, who crave the upper echelon's effortless elegance without the leisure to avoid the sun entirely. But let's add a dash of quirky intrigue. You learn of women incorporating arsenic into their baths, dissolving flakes into steaming water scented with rose petals. The steam rises, carrying a faint, acrid whiff that you mask with essential oils. And as you soak, your skin absorbs the poison, emerging softer, paler, with that ethereal sheen. It's a fringe ritual, passed among close friends in hushed tones, some even claiming it wards off insects as a bonus. Picture yourself lounging in the tub, bubbles popping lazily, and you can't help but chuckle softly. Here you are, bathing in what could double as pest control, all for beauty's sake. Modern me whispers, talk about killing two birds with one stone, or rather, your pores and the pests. As you dry off and dress in your layers of petticoats, the mirror reflects a subtle change, your freckles fading, veins less prominent under a veil of translucence. The allure deepens as you attend a ladies' luncheon where conversations turn to these secret weapons. One friend confides in using arsenic-laced face washes, the cool liquid splashing against your skin like a forbidden elixir. You try it, feeling the immediate tightening, a sensation both invigorating and slightly unnerving, as if your face is being gently etched. Historians still argue whether arsenic's popularity stemmed more from its actual whitening effects or from the placebo of societal hype, with some pointing to medical journals praising its stimulant properties, while others decry it as mass delusion driven by fashion plates. You venture out into the bustling marketplace, parasol in hand, the sun a relentless foe. Vendors hawk their wares, including green-tinted arsenic soaps that promise to banish sallowness forever. You purchase one, the wrapper crinkling satisfyingly, and later at home lather it up, the foam rich and creamy with a hidden bite. It's fascinating how arsenic transitions from medical curiosity, used in treatments for syphilis and malaria, to beauty staple. A light joke bubbles up. Imagine telling your doctor you're taking poison for pimples. He'd probably prescribe more, thinking it a cure-all. The sensory pull is real. The soap's lather feels luxurious, leaving your skin silky, almost too perfect, like a painting come to life. Deeper into the day, you explore how arsenic weaves into fabrics and wallpapers, but for now, it's all about personal application. You experiment with lotions, rubbing the creamy mixture into your hands and neck, the absorption quick, leaving no residue but a faint glow under candlelight. Friends notice, complimenting your natural complexion, and you smile secretly, knowing the artifice behind it. A quirky tidbit surfaces. Some daring souls mix arsenic with their tooth powders for wider smiles, the grit scraping gently as you brush, promising a dazzle that matches your skin. It's eccentric, borderline mad, but in this era, beauty knows no bounds, or common sense. As afternoon tea arrives, you sip chamomile from delicate china, the warmth soothing any mild unease from your morning dose. The conversation drifts to continental influences. French cosmetiques import arsenic blends, labeled elegantly to disguise their potency. You sample one, the bottle's ornate design belying the danger within. Remember that rice powder from before? It pales in comparison, quite literally, to this new arsenal. You feel empowered yet vulnerable, the line between enhancement and harm blurring like fog on the Thames. Evening draws near, and you prepare for a soiree, applying a final touch of arsenic-infused powder. The mirror shows a vision of Victorian ideals, pale, poised, pristine. But whispers of side effects linger in your mind, a slight headache perhaps, or a flutter in your stomach. You brush it off, attributing it to the tight lacing of your gown. Another gentle sarcasm slips in. Ah, the things we do for beauty. Trading vitality for vanity in a game where the house always wins. The party's lights beckon, music floating on the air, and you step out, skin aglow, ready to captivate. Yet as you mingle, a doctor's lecture echoes in memory, warnings about accumulation. But they're dismissed as alarmist. The allure is too strong, pulling you further into this toxic tango. You dance lightly, laughter soft, the arsenic working its magic unseen. The night deepens, stars peeking through smog, and you return home, undressing slowly, the day's residues washing away. But the promise lingers, a seductive hum in your veins, urging more tomorrow. Sleep tugs at you now, the bed welcoming, as thoughts of this emerging secret fade into dreamy haze.
The morning light creeps in softly, pulling you from that dreamy haze where arsenic's promise lingered like a half-remembered melody. You blink awake in your four-poster bed, sheets tangled around you, the faint chill of dawn nipping at your toes. No time to linger, the day's beauty rituals await, and today you're weaving in those arsenic wafers with the precision of a well-rehearsed dance. You swing your legs over the side, slippers meeting the cool wooden floor, and shuffle to your dressing table, where the box of wafers sits innocently among brushes and pins. The routine begins with a deep breath, the air carrying a hint of last night's coal fire, grounding you in this Victorian rhythm. You start simple, splashing your face with rose water from a porcelain basin, the petal's subtle fragrance waking your senses without overwhelming. It's a gentle prelude, rinsing away sleep's remnants, leaving your skin dewy and ready. Now for the star of the show. You pick up a wafer, small and round like a communion host, but with a purpose far from holy. You place it on your tongue, letting it dissolve slowly, the metallic undertone mixing with your morning tea's bitterness as you sip from a delicate cup. The warmth spreads downward, a subtle fire igniting within, promising to chase away any internal impurities that might mar your outer glow. Remember those whispers from the soiree last night? This is where they manifest, in the quiet intimacy of your boudoir. As the wafer works its way through you, you feel a faint buzz, like butterflies stirring in your belly. Not unpleasant, just a reminder of the magic at play.
Mainstream accounts from the era reveal that by the 1850s, arsenic wafers were a staple in many women's daily regimens, prescribed by physicians as tonics for everything from anemia to acne, blurring the line between medicine and makeup. You follow up with a light breakfast, perhaps a slice of toast with marmalade, the sweetness cutting through the wafer's edge, all while gazing out the window at the misty streets below. Carriages clatter by, and you imagine the women inside, each harboring their own secret doses, united in this pale pursuit. Moving on, you turn to your skincare arsenal. You uncap a jar of arsenic-infused cream, the texture velvety against your fingertips, scooping a dollop and massaging it into your cheeks in slow circular motions. The cream absorbs quickly, leaving a silky film that catches the light, making your skin appear lit from within, like a lantern behind rice paper. Sensory bliss. The coolness soothes any overnight puffiness, and you close your eyes, inhaling the faint almond scent added to mask the chemical whiff. A modern aside slips in. If only they had hyaluronic acid back then, you'd trade this toxic treat for a harmless hydrate any day. But here you are, committed to the glow. You pause to brush your hair, long strokes with an ivory comb, each pass detangling yesterday's curls while you mull over the routine's flow. Quirky fact time. Some women, in a fringe twist, would chew arsenic-laced lozenges throughout the day, popping them like candies to maintain that constant internal cleanse, claiming it kept their eyes bright and spirits high. Imagine sneaking one during a dull sermon at church, the pastor droning on while you secretly enhance your Sunday-best complexion. Talk about divine intervention with a side of danger. You chuckle softly to yourself, the sound echoing in the quiet room as you tie your hair back with a ribbon, ready for the next step. Now, layering on the protection, you dust your face with a fine powder blended with arsenic flakes, using a soft puff that feels like a cloud kissing your skin. The particles settle lightly, muting any shine, creating that matte perfection society demands. You tilt your head, admiring the effect in the mirror, the glass slightly fogged from your breath. It's mesmerizing how quickly it evens your tone, freckles vanishing like stars at dawn. But here's the gentle sarcasm. Ah, the irony of poisoning yourself for prettiness, as if nature didn't already gift you a perfectly fine facade. Victorians always one-upping evolution with a dash of death. You chuckle softly to yourself, the sound echoing in the quiet room as you tie your hair back with a ribbon, ready for the next step. Dressing comes next, slipping into your chemise and corset, the laces pulling tight with a familiar creak. As you cinch in, you feel the wafer's effects deepening, a subtle energy perhaps, or just the placebo of ritual, making your movements graceful despite the constriction. You select a day gown of soft muslin, its pale blue hue complementing your enhanced pallor, buttons fastening with satisfying clicks. Historians still argue whether these mourning rituals empowered women by giving them control over their image or ensnared them in a cycle of dependency, with some diaries suggesting joy in the process, others hinting at quiet desperation. You venture downstairs, the house stirring with servants' footsteps, the aroma of fresh bread wafting from the kitchen. A quick glance in the hall mirror confirms the glow. Your skin radiates, veins faintly blue beneath the translucency, eyes seeming brighter against the canvas. Another light joke. If arsenic wafers were a modern app, it'd be called Filter Me Fatal, instant beauty with premium side effects unlocked after level 10. You smile at the thought, heading to the parlor for correspondence, quill in hand, inkwell open. Writing letters to friends, you share veiled hints about your regimen, the paper crinkling under your pen, the animate words flowing like the Thames at low tide. Mid-morning brings a walk in the garden, parasol unfurled to shield from the weak sun. The gravel crunches under your boots,
flowers nodding in the breeze, their colors vivid against your muted tones. You feel invigorated, the arsenic coursing subtly, suppressing any appetite that might lead to unflattering fullness, another perk in this era's eyes. Sensory details abound, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of birds, all amplifying your heightened awareness, as if the poison sharpens your edges while softening your appearance. Returning indoors, you refresh with another wafer dissolved in water, a midday boost to sustain the effect. The liquid goes down easily, cool and slightly effervescent, bubbling gently in your glass. It's become second nature, this integration, like breathing or blinking. A third humorous aside, picture a Victorian vending machine dispensing these wafers. Insert a penny, get your poison, and a free ticket to the Undertaker's ball. The thought amuses you as you settle into embroidery, needle-piercing fabric with rhythmic pricks, the pattern emerging slowly under your steady hands. As noon approaches, you prepare for callers, ensuring every inch gleams. A final touch, arsenic soap for your hands, lathering up at the basin, bubbles forming like tiny pearls. The clean feeling lingers, skin smooth and pale, ready for gloves if needed. The routine wraps you in comfort, a cocoon of control amid life's uncertainties. Yet beneath it, a faint unease stirs, a twinge in your temples, perhaps from the corset or something more insidious. You push it aside, focusing on the mirror's approval. The afternoon stretches ahead, but for now you pause, tea tray arriving with scones and clotted cream. Nibbling sparingly, you savor the contrast, the richness against your disciplined intake. The wafers have curbed your hunger, keeping you lithe and luminous. Callbacks to earlier experiments flood in. Those vinegar cloths feel primitive now, overshadowed by this sophisticated poison play. Sleepiness tugs at the edges of your mind, but the day presses on, beauty's demands unending in this glowing grind.
The tea tray sits before you, steam curling lazily from the pot like morning mist over the river, inviting a moment of respite amid the day's unyielding pursuit. You pour a cup, the amber liquid splashing softly, and as you sip, the warmth seeps into your bones, contrasting the cool poise of your arsenic-enhanced skin. But even in this quiet interlude, thoughts drift to the shadows behind the glow, the hidden world that supplies these wafers and creams, a clandestine trade bubbling beneath society's polished surface. You set down your cup with a gentle clink, curiosity pulling you toward the underbelly of this beauty empire, where secrets simmer like unattended potions. You decide to venture out, wrapping a shawl around your shoulders against the afternoon chill, the fabric soft and whispering against your neck. The streets beckon, alive with the hum of vendors and the distant rumble of omnibuses, leading you to the less savory corners of the city. Here, away from the grand apothecaries with their gleaming windows, you find the underground peddlers, shadowy figures in alleyway stalls, hawking jars and packets under the guise of health tonics. The air thickens with the scent of damp stone and exotic spices, masking the sharper chemical notes that hint at forbidden contents. You approach one such stall, fingers tracing the edge of a wooden crate filled with unlabeled vials, each promising miracles for a few shillings. Diving into this covert commerce, you learn how arsenic-based cosmetics flood the market through back channels, smuggled from factories or compounded in hidden workshops. Mainstream history records that by the 1860s, arsenic production soared with the industrial boom, making it cheaply available for dyes, pesticides, and yes, beauty aids, often without regulation until later scandals forced parliamentary eyes. You haggle softly with a vendor, his voice a low rumble as he slides you a tin of Fowler's solution, a liquid arsenic elixir diluted just enough to sip for that internal radiance. The bottle feels cool in your palm, label peeling at the edges, and you tuck it away, heart quickening at the thrill of the illicit. As you weave through the crowd, sensory details envelop you. The brush of skirts against yours, the faint jingle of coins changing hands, the earthy aroma of street food mingling with the acrid whiff from open sewers. You uncover tales of women forming secret societies, informal networks in sewing circles or at market meets, where recipes for homemade arsenic lotions are traded like family heirlooms. Mix a pinch with lard and rosewater, they say, for a cream that sinks in deep, banishing blemishes overnight. You imagine stirring it in your kitchen late at night, spoon clinking against the bowl, the mixture thickening into a pearly paste that tingles on application. But the dangers lurk, unspoken yet palpable, like a fog that clings without warning. You hear whispers of green sickness, a pallor that turns sickly, or unexplained tremors that start as mere twitches. These hidden perils accumulate slowly, the arsenic building in your system like sediment in a riverbed, leading to headaches that pulse behind your eyes or nausea that twists your gut after too many doses. A modern aside drifts in. If Victorians had warning labels, they'd read like a horror novel, may cause glow now, regret later. But back then, ignorance was the real bliss, or at least the marketed one. You pause at another stall, this one shrouded in canvas, where a woman with sharp eyes offers arsenic soaps wrapped in plain paper. The bar feels waxy in your hand, scented faintly with lavender to disguise its origins, and as you lather later at home, bubbles forming in the basin, you feel the dual edge, smoothness on the surface, but a subtle drying that hints at deeper harm. Quirky tidbit alert, some fringe enthusiasts went beyond skin deep, using arsenic and hair tonics to achieve lustrous locks, claiming it stimulated growth while conveniently ignoring the fallout, quite literally, as strands weakened over time. Picture washing your hair with what amounts to rat poison shampoo. Talk about a bad hair day turning terminal. You'd laugh if it weren't so darkly absurd. Continuing your exploration, you slip into a dimly lit emporium, gas lamps flickering overhead like watchful eyes. Shelves sag under the weight of potions, arsenic pastes for warts, wafers for weight loss, all peddled as cure-alls. The shopkeeper, a man with ink-stained fingers, regales you with stories of suppliers dodging inspectors, labeling products vaguely to skirt nascent laws. You purchase a powder compact, its contents finely milled for dusting over rouge, the particles dancing in the air like malevolent snowflakes. Inhaling carefully, you apply it at the counter's mirror, the reflection showing an even more ethereal you, but with a price tag etched in invisible ink. The hidden dangers deepen as you chat with a fellow shopper, her voice hushed over the rustle of packages. She confides in bouts of fatigue, attributing them to city air, but you sense the connection. The arsenic's slow siege on nerves and organs, manifesting as pins and needles in limbs or a greenish tint under the pallor. Historians still argue whether the underground trade's proliferation was driven by profit-hungry entrepreneurs or desperate women demanding affordable access, with some archives suggesting collusion between doctors and dealers, others pointing to grassroots innovation amid economic strife. Back on the streets, the sun dips lower, casting long shadows that mirror the trade's opacity. You clutch your acquisitions, the weight a reminder of the risks intertwined with rewards. A light joke surfaces. Imagine arsenic as the original beauty hack, quick, effective, and with more side effects than a bad blind date. You smile faintly, weaving homeward through the throng, the city's pulse syncing with your own subtly altered rhythm. Arriving at your doorstep, the familiar creak of the gate welcomes you. Inside, you unpack in the parlor, fire crackling softly in the grate, casting a warm glow that contrasts your cool complexion. You experiment with a new lotion, rubbing it into your arms, the absorption quick and leaving a faint sheen, but doubts creep in like evening dusk,
Stories of collapses at balls, women fainting not from tight corsets, but cumulative poison. The trade's veil lifts slightly, revealing not just allure, but alarm, a balance as precarious as a tightrope over the abyss. As twilight settles, you prepare dinner sparingly, appetite dimmed by the day's doses, the clatter of cutlery soft in the quiet house. Callbacks echo. Those early rice powders seem quaint now, mere child's play compared to this underground arsenal with its lurking threats. You dine by candlelight, flames dancing, mind wandering to the women who push further, ignoring the signs for society's approving nods. The evening unwinds slowly, you retiring to your chamber, undressing with deliberate movements. The mirror reflects a flawless facade, but beneath, the secrets simmer, the trade's dangers a silent companion. Sleep beckons gently, the bed's embrace soft, as thoughts of this shadowy world fade into the night's hush.
The chamber's hush envelops you as sleep's gentle pull loosens its grip. Dawn's soft glow seeping through the curtains like a whispered invitation to another day of luminous deception. You rise slowly, the residue of yesterday's underground acquisitions still fresh in your mind, those hidden vials tucked away in your vanity drawer, promising to elevate your presence in the glittering whirl of society. Tonight, it's not just about private rituals. It's time to step into the spotlight, where the fruits of your arsenic labors truly shine, at the grand balls that define Victorian high life, balls where pale perfection isn't just admired, but demanded, a silent currency amid the swirl of gowns and glances. You begin preparations early, the house stirring with anticipation, servants bustling to press your finest silk dress, its fabric shimmering like moonlight on water. As you sit at your mirror, you dissolve another wafer in a glass of water, the fizz subtle against the quiet tick of the clock, letting the liquid slide down your throat with that familiar metallic kiss. It courses through you, honing your skin to a fine translucence, veins mapping delicately beneath like rivers on a porcelain map. Sensory immersion takes hold, the cool glass against your lips, the faint bitterness lingering, all building toward the evening's crescendo. Remember those shadowy stalls from yesterday? Their wares now fuel this transformation, turning hidden dangers into visible triumphs under chandelier light. Hours slip by in a haze of pampering, a bath scented with jasmine to complement the arsenic's subtle alchemy, steam rising to soften every pore. You emerge, toweling off gently, skin glowing with an unnatural evenness that draws a soft sigh from your lips. Mainstream chronicles of the era highlight how balls served as social battlegrounds, with events like Almack's in London enforcing strict dress codes and vetting attendees, ensuring only the palest, most refined complexions graced the dance floor by the 1830s. You slip into your gown, the silk whispering against your body, corset laced just tight enough to accentuate the fragility that arsenic enhances, making you appear as if carved from alabaster. As dusk falls, the carriage arrives with a rhythmic clop of hooves on cobblestones, the air outside crisp with the promise of revelry. You step in, settling against plush cushions, heart fluttering like a caged bird as the vehicle jolts forward through fog-shrouded streets. Lamps flicker past, casting golden halos, and you touch your cheek,
marveling at the smoothness, the wafer's work banishing any hint of flush from the day's exertions. A modern murmur creeps in. If only selfies existed back then, you'd flood the feed with your glow-up, hashtagging arsenic aesthetic before the side effects kicked in. But alas, it's all mirrors and memory here. Arriving at the grand hall, the doors swing open to a symphony of violins and laughter, the air thick with perfumes, rose, musk, and underlying notes of excitement. You glide in, fan unfurling like a peacock's tail, eyes scanning the room where crystal chandeliers dangle like frozen fireworks, illuminating a sea of faces. And oh, the complexions. Each woman's skin rivals the next in pallid perfection. Arsenic's handiwork evident in the way light dances off cheeks without a single shadow of imperfection. You join the throng, curtsying to acquaintances, their compliments flowing like champagne. "My dear, you look positively ethereal tonight." The praise warms you more than any hearth, validating every swallowed wafer, every applied cream. The dancing begins, a waltz sweeping you into a partner's arms, the floor polished to a mirror sheen, reflecting your twirling forms. Sensory details swirl, the swish of skirts, the warmth of gloved hands, the orchestra's strings vibrating through your chest. Your complexion steals glances, heads turn subtly, whispers exchanged behind fans about your natural radiance. But here's the quirky fringe. Some bold ladies sneak arsenic lozenges between dances, popping them in retiring rooms like illicit sweets, claiming it sustains the glow through sweaty exertions, turning powder rooms into covert dosing dens. Imagine fumbling in your reticule for a wafer mid-conversation, excusing it as a mint. Talk about a poisonous party favor. You'd giggle if the stakes weren't so stealthily high. As the night deepens, you pause for refreshments, sipping punch that sparkles under the lights, its tartness cutting through the lingering metallic taste in your mouth. Conversations buzz around you, gossip about debutantes whose skins betray a hint of tan, marking them as outsiders in this pale pageant. Your own enhancement holds firm, the arsenic suppressing any natural color from the heat of the room, keeping you cool and composed. A light joke bubbles up. These balls are like beauty pageants on steroids, or rather on arsenic, where the crown goes to the ghostliest glow and runners-up get a lifetime supply of regret. You rejoin the fray, quadrille steps light and precise, the room a kaleidoscope of colors muted by the uniform whiteness of faces. Friends pull you aside, sharing tips on dosages, voices low amid the music's swell. One confides in using arsenic-infused gloves, the powder seeping through fabric for an all-over effect, a fringe practice that's equal parts ingenious and insane. The hidden dangers flicker in your mind, a faint dizziness during a spin, chalked up to the whirl, but perhaps the first whisper of accumulation, nerves tingling like distant thunder. Midnight approaches, the ball at its zenith, your complexion the envy of the assembly. Historians still argue whether these social spectacles empowered women through display or reinforced toxic standards, with some viewing the arsenic trend as a form of rebellion against natural aging, others as submission to male gaze etiquette books.
You ponder it briefly between sets, fan cooling your brow, the debate as layered as your petticoats. Supper is announced, tables laden with delicacies, oysters on ice, fruits glistening like jewels. You nibble delicately, appetite tempered by the wafers, maintaining that slender silhouette that pairs perfectly with the pallor. Laughter echoes, toasts raised, and you catch your reflection in a silver platter, flawless under the candle's flicker. Callbacks resurface. Those early cucumber slices seem laughably tame now, outshone by this ball's arsenal of enhancements, where every glance affirms the pursuit's worth. As the hours wane, fatigue tugs gently, but the glow persists, a testament to the routine's efficacy. You bid farewells, carriage waiting like a faithful steed, the night's triumphs lingering in your veins. The ride home lulls you, streets quieter now, the city's pulse slowing to match your own. Undressing by lamplight, you trace the day's remnants, the silk's creases, the skin's unyielding perfection, before sinking into bed. The fan's hum a soothing companion. Dreams beckon, laced with waltzes and whispers, the ball's spotlight fading into softer realms. Yet beneath the triumph, a subtle unease stirs, like a shadow at the edge of vision, hinting at costs yet to come. Sleep claims you gradually, the arsenic's allure, a velvet veil over the nights.
The velvet veil of sleep lifts gently, like mist dissolving under a hesitant sun, leaving you in the soft glow of morning light filtering through your chamber window. The ball's echoes still dance in your mind, swirling gowns, admiring glances, but now a subtle discord creeps in, a faint unease that wasn't there before, perhaps stirred by that fleeting dizziness amid the waltzes. You sit up slowly, sheets pooling around you like forgotten lace, and as you reach for your morning wafer out of habit, a new murmur reaches your ears, whispers from the medical world, early cautions about the very elixir that's become your daily companion. These aren't shouts of alarm yet, just soft rumblings in journals and drawing-room chats, but they prick at your consciousness like a loose thread in an otherwise perfect seam. You start the day as usual, splashing cool water on your face from the ewer, the droplets tracing paths down your neck, refreshing yet unable to wash away the lingering questions. The city's sounds filter in, distant church bells tolling, vendors calling their wares, and among them you catch snippets from the morning paper left by the maid on your tray. An article tucked in the health section mentions a physician's lecture warning of insidious agents in popular tonics. It's subtle, not naming arsenic outright, but you feel the implications settling over you like a fine dust. Sensory whispers accompany it, the paper's crisp rustle under your fingers, the ink's faint metallic scent mirroring the wafer's taste as you hesitate before swallowing it down with your tea. Diving into these early murmurs, you imagine attending one of those medical gatherings, perhaps in a stuffy hall at the Royal Society, where bespectacled doctors in frock coats pace the stage, voices echoing off wooden panels. They speak of cases, women complaining of persistent headaches, like a dull drumbeat behind the eyes, or unexplained fatigue that turns limbs heavy as lead.
Mainstream history recalls that by the 1850s, British medical journals like The Lancet began publishing reports on chronic arsenic poisoning, linking it to widespread use in medicines and cosmetics, with symptoms escalating from mild irritations to severe neurological damage over time. You picture yourself in the audience, fan fluttering to dispel the room's stuffy air, absorbing the words while your skin tingles with ironic denial. But the warnings are tentative, couched in scientific caution, not outright bans. You hear tales of autopsies revealing arsenic deposits in tissues, the poison accumulating like unpaid debts. But these are shared in hushed tones among the elite, not blared in headlines. A modern aside floats in. If Victorians had social media, these docs would be tweeting #ToxicGlowUp with caution emojis. But instead, it's all quill and parchment, slow to spread. You chuckle softly to yourself, the sound muffled by your hand as you dress, slipping into a simple morning gown, its cotton cool against your arms. Ah, the perks of poison. It keeps you looking fresh even on groggy days. You breakfast lightly on porridge and fruit, the flavors bland to your tempered palate. More murmurs filter through conversations with visitors. A cousin drops by, her voice low over teacups clinking, sharing a story from her physician husband about patients with greenish tinges to their skin, a morbid bloom that's nothing but beautiful. These perils lurk subtly. Digestive woes that twist like a bad dream, or hair thinning in patches, blamed on everything but the obvious. Quirky tidbit time. Some fringe reports even mention women developing a tolerance, like those Styrian peasants who munched arsenic like snacks for supposed vitality, turning pale and plump but risking sudden collapse. Imagine building immunity to your beauty routine only to have it backfire like a prank gone wrong. You'd laugh outright if it didn't hit so close to home, stirring that gentle sarcasm. Beauty's a beast, isn't it? Demanding tribute in vitality while promising eternity in a mirror. You venture out for a promenade in the park, gravel paths crunching under your boots, the air fresh with dew-kissed grass and distant horse whinnies. Benches host clusters of ladies, their parasols bobbing like colorful mushrooms, and overheard snippets add to the murmurs. A friend mentions a book by a Dr. Alfred Taylor, detailing arsenic's deceptive safety in small doses. The air filters through leaves, casting dappled shadows on your path, mirroring the patchy knowledge of the time. Doctors know it's used for syphilis treatments, ironically improving skin temporarily, but the long-term facade cracks reveal horrors beneath. Your own skin feels taut, a reminder of last night's glow, but now with a phantom itch, as if the warnings are etching themselves in. Returning home, the house's quiet embrace welcomes you, fire crackling in the grate to ward off the chill. You peruse a medical pamphlet smuggled from a library visit, pages yellowing and whispering as you turn them, outlining symptoms like numbness in fingers, a tingling that starts innocent but grows insistent. The perils unfold, vision blurring at edges, moods swinging like a pendulum, all while society clings to the allure. A light joke surfaces. These doctors are like party poopers at the ball, warning about the punch being spiked. Thanks, but we'll sip anyway, chasing that tipsy radiance. You smile faintly, setting the pamphlet aside, but it lingers, a seed of doubt planted amid your routine. Afternoon brings letter writing, quill scratching paper with rhythmic strokes, ink flowing like the doubts now seeping in. You pen queries to a knowledgeable aunt, veiled questions about health tonics, the envelope sealing with a wax drip that hardens quickly, much like the era's resistance to change. Historians still argue whether these early medical murmurs were dismissed due to profit-driven industries or genuine skepticism about low-dose harms, with some claiming evidence was anecdotal until forensic advances, others pointing to cultural blindness, favoring facts over fashion. The day's light fades, windows glowing with sunset hues that warm your pale cheeks without tanning them, arsenic's gift or curse. You prepare for evening, applying a lighter dose of cream, fingers gliding smoothly, but with newfound hesitation. Callbacks whisper back. Those underground vials from the market seem riskier now, their hidden dangers no longer abstract, but echoing in these professional cautions. Supper is simple, soup steaming with herbal notes, spoon clinking bowl in thoughtful cadence. As night draws near, you retire to the parlor, book in hand, but the words blur slightly. Is it fatigue or foreboding? The murmurs amplify in your mind, a chorus of caution against the beauty facade's cracks, crumbling health behind the glow, society's blind to the slow sabotage. Yet habit pulls you towards tomorrow's wafer, the allure stubborn as a lover's plea. Sleep tugs softly, the bed's linens cool and inviting, fan humming its lullaby. Dreams gather, laced with lectures and luminous skins fading to shadow, the warnings a gentle undercurrent in the night's tide. You drift deeper, the perils a distant echo, but closer than before, weaving into the fabric of your Victorian reverie.
The night's tide recedes slowly, dreams of shadowed lectures and fading glows dissolving into the soft patter of rain against your window pane, pulling you back to the waking world with a gentle insistence. You blink away the remnants of unease, the medical murmurs from yesterday lingering like a faint echo in a vast whole, prompting a shift in your steadfast routine. Today, instead of reaching automatically for the arsenic wafer, your hand hovers, doubt seeding a new path toward alternatives that promise pallor without the perilous undertow. You feel the pull of curiosity, a quiet rebellion against the toxic norm as you explore these rival remedies, testing their mettle against the glow you've come to crave. You rise with the dawn's muted light, slippers whispering across the floorboards as you approach your vanity, the array of jars and powders spread out like a battlefield of beauty aids. The air carries the fresh scent of linen and lavender from your nightdress, grounding you in this moment of experimentation. First up, the familiar rice powder, a staple you've dabbled with before, but now revisit with fresh scrutiny. You scoop a generous pinch from its tin, the fine grains sifting through your fingers like cool sand, and pat it onto your cheeks with a soft puff. It settles lightly, muting any overnight flush. But as you tilt your head in the mirror, you notice the chalky residue that clings in fine lines, questioning if this truly rivals arsenic's seamless sheen. Sensory details wrap around you, the powder's subtle dryness pulling at your skin, a far cry from the internal warmth of those wafers. Diving deeper into these alternatives, you recall how rice powder surged in popularity as a safer bet, ground from Oriental imports and hailed in ladies' magazines for its natural whitening without the bite of chemicals.
Mainstream history notes that by the late 1840s, with growing awareness of lead's toxicity from earlier cosmetics, rice powder became a household go-to, exported en masse from Asia to Europe's vanity tables, offering a matte finish that aligned with the era's demure ideals. But efficacy? You blend it with a drop of glycerin for better adhesion, rubbing the mixture in circular motions, feeling the slight stickiness that helps it stay put through morning chores. Yet, as you move about the room, a stray sunbeam catches your face, revealing a powdery mask that cracks with your smile. Ah, the gentle sarcasm here. Rice powders like that reliable but boring suitor, safe yet lacking the spark that makes your heart or skin race. You pause for breakfast, the table set with warm scones and jam, their buttery aroma tempting despite your cautious appetite. Nibbling thoughtfully, you ponder other rivals. Pearl powder, finely crushed from oyster shells, mixed into a paste with water. You try it next, the iridescent dust shimmering in your palm like captured moonlight, applying it with a brush that glides smoothly over your forehead and nose. It imparts a subtle luminescence, not the stark white of arsenic, but a softer, pearlescent veil that catches light without overwhelming. Quirky fringe alert. Some women, in a bizarre twist, swore by mixing pearl powder with snail slime, harvested from garden pests, and slathered on for its supposed hydrating magic, leaving a trail of goo that dries to a tight film. Imagine raiding your flower beds for facials, turning slugs into skincare heroes. What a slimy shortcut to beauty, you'd quip with a soft chuckle, wiping away the residue with a damp cloth. As the morning unfolds, you venture to the apothecary, not the shadowy ones from before, but a reputable shop with sunlit windows and orderly shelves. The bell tinkles cheerfully as you enter, the air redolent with herbs and camphor, and you inquire about borax solutions, another emerging alternative, touted for its cleansing properties. The clerk hands you a bottle, clear liquid sloshing gently, and back home you dilute it for a wash, splashing it over your face in the basin. The cool rush invigorates, tightening pores with a mild sting, but as it dries, your skin feels stripped, begging for moisture, questioning its long-term efficacy against arsenic's enduring glow. A modern whisper slips in. If only they had micellar water, I'd swap this harsh rinse for a gentle swipe. No drama, just clean simplicity. You layer on more trials, curiosity fueling the ritual. A mask of oatmeal ground fine and mixed with milk, the paste warm and comforting against your skin as you lounge by the window, book in hand. It soothes any irritation from prior experiments, flaking off to reveal a softer texture, but the pallor? Fleeting at best, washed away with the next splash. Efficacy wavers here, each remedy promising much, but delivering in halves. Rice powder's coverage fades by noon, pearl's sheen dulls under scrutiny. And let's add a light joke. These alternatives are like understudies to arsenic's star role, eager but fumbling lines when the curtain rises, charming in rehearsal but spotlight shy at showtime. Afternoon brings a stroll to the lending library, bookshelves towering like silent guardians, the musty scent of pages enveloping you as you seek out tomes on natural remedies. You flip through a volume on herbal lore, fingers tracing illustrations of plants like chamomile and elderflower, boiled into teas for internal brightening. Brewing one at home, the steam rises with floral notes, sipping it slowly as the warmth spreads, hoping it flushes impurities without the poison's price. But doubts linger. Does this gentle brew truly compete, or is it mere placebo in a teacup? Historians still argue whether the shift to these alternatives marked a genuine health awakening or was merely a marketing pivot, with some evidence suggesting women's magazines pushed them amid early scandals, while others claim it was grassroots wisdom born from whispered warnings. Returning, you experiment further. A vinegar rinse, diluted apple cider trickling over your hair and face, the sharp tang biting your nostrils, but promising to close cuticles for a smoother, lighter look. It leaves a faint gloss, but the smell clings, masked only by rosewater spritzes. Colback's surface, those early medical murmurs echo now, validating this pivot from arsenic's perils, the underground trade shadows receding as you embrace these safer shores. Yet efficacy tests your patience. Rice powder cakes in humidity. Borax dries too harshly, each rival falling short of that coveted, effortless translucency. Evening draws in, the house aglow with lamplight, casting warm pools on the rug as you unwind with needlework, threads pulling taut in rhythmic pulls. Your skin, layered with today's trials, feels balanced, pale enough for satisfaction, but without the internal hum of wafers. A third humorous aside, imagine a beauty contest between arsenic and oatmeal. Poison wins the glow, but porridge takes the least likely to kill you trophy, a tiebreaker for the sensible soul. You smile softly, setting aside your work, the day's questions settling like dust motes in the air. Supper arrives, light and nourishing, soup simmering with vegetables, spoon dipping in slow cadence, flavors blooming on your tongue without suppression. The alternatives allow this indulgence, no curbed hunger from toxic tweaks. As night deepens, you prepare for bed, a final dusting of pearl powder for overnight magic, the mirror reflecting a natural, if imperfect, radiance. Doubts about efficacy fade into acceptance. Perhaps perfection isn't in the poison, after all. Sleep beckons with open arms, the bed's embrace soft and unburdened, fans hum a constant lull. Dreams gather, filled with powders and pastes, the quest evolving into gentler realms, whispers of warnings transforming into winds of change.
The morning's gentle haze lifts as rain patters softly against the glass, a rhythmic lull that mirrors the evolving thoughts from your experiments with those safer powders and rinses. Yet, even as you dab on a light layer of pearl powder, its subtle sheen, catching the dim light, whispers of the past, pull you deeper into the stories of those who chased the arsenic glow too far. Famous faces of the era, celebrities in their own right, whose habits painted portraits of tragic decline beneath the facade of beauty. You feel the weight of their tales settling over you like a heavy shawl, a reminder that the pursuit, once glittering, often dimmed into sorrowful shadows. You start by imagining the opulent drawing rooms of London society, where figures like the renowned actress Lily Langtry grace the scene, her skin a beacon of Victorian ideals that drew admirers like moths to a flame. Known as the Jersey Lily, she captivates audiences on stage and off, her complexion so flawlessly pale it seems otherworldly under theater gaslights. But as you delve into her story, you uncover the subtle toll. Whispers of her reliance on arsenic wafers to maintain that signature glow amid grueling tours and social whirlwinds. The sensory pull is vivid. The rustle of her silk gowns as she sweeps into parties, the faint metallic tang on her breath masked by peppermint drops, all while fatigue creeps in like an uninvited guest, sapping her vitality show by show. Diving further, you turn to the tragic arc
of figures like the socialite and beauty icon, the Countess of Dudley, whose porcelain perfection set trends in the 1870s ballrooms. Mainstream accounts detail how such luminaries openly endorsed arsenic-based products in advertisements, with the Countess's image gracing labels for complexion pills, boosting sales while her own health ebbed away in private. You picture her at a grand soirée, fan fluttering to cool cheeks that flush unnaturally despite the pallor, her laughter ringing out but edged with weariness from the poison's slow grip. The decline unfolds gradually. Headaches that bloom into migraines like thunderclouds gathering behind her eyes, forcing retreats to darkened rooms where servants draw curtains against the light. But the stories grow more poignant with lesser-known yet equally famed faces, like the opera singer Adelina Patti, whose voice enchanted Europe but whose beauty regimen whispered of arsenic's double edge. You hear tales of her morning rituals, dissolving wafers in crystal glasses of water, the liquid sparkling innocently as she sips before rehearsals. Sensory immersion deepens, the velvet throat of her arias vibrating through grand halls, contrasted by the quiet tremors in her hands during intermissions, nerves frayed by accumulation. A modern aside drifts in. If these divas had wellness apps, they'd log their doses with heart emojis, ignoring the red flags popping up like unwanted notifications. But hindsight's the real star here, isn't it? You uncover more, like the decline of fashion plate and royal favorite Alexandra of Denmark, later queen consort, whose early portraits radiate that arsenic-assisted translucence admired across the empire. Whispers suggest her use of such tonics to combat the rigors of court life, but as years pass, the glow fades into frailty, with reports of digestive woes that confine her to bed for days. The tragic element tugs at you. Imagine gliding through Windsor Castle corridors, gown trailing like a river of silk, only to collapse in private, the poison's legacy etching lines of pain where beauty once reigned. And here's a light joke to soften the edge. These ladies treated arsenic like a loyal maid, always there to polish the exterior, but sneaky enough to pilfer health from the drawers when no one's looking. Quirky tidbit time. Some celebrities, in a fringe obsession, collected arsenic-laced accessories, like gloves powdered inside with the mineral for constant absorption, leading to numb fingers that fumbled teacups at high teas. Their declines marked by clumsy mishaps amid elegant facades. You picture a duchess dropping her fan mid-curtsy, blaming a slippery grasp while the toxin numbs her senses. It's almost comical, like a period drama blooper reel, but with real stakes that turn laughter to sorrows. You feel the irony settling, the very tool for stealing spotlights, ultimately dimming them, leaving legacies laced with what-ifs. As you wander through these narratives, the rain outside intensifies, drumming a somber rhythm on the roof, echoing the heartbeat of women like the novelist George Eliot, whose intellectual brilliance shone bright, but whose personal letters hinted beauty experiments with arsenic to fit societal molds. Her decline? Perhaps subtler. A weariness that seeped into her prose, words flowing slower as energy waned, the poisoned shadow lengthening over her desk, lit by flickering candles. Sensory details abound. The scratch of her quill on paper, ink blots forming like unintended confessions, while a faint nausea twists her focus, turning masterpieces into labored triumphs. The tragedies compound with tales of actresses fading from the stage, like the once vibrant Ellen Terry, whose Shakespearean roles demanded ethereal looks achieved through discreet doses. You envision her backstage, mirror reflecting a face aglow, but eyes dulled by persistent vertigo, spins that mimic the dramatic swoons she performs, but stem from deeper malaise. Historians still argue whether these declines were solely arsenic's fault or compounded by the era's other ills like tight corsets or poor sanitation, with some blaming lifestyle stresses, others pinpointing the cumulative toxicity evidenced in post-mortem analyses. Callbacks weave in. Remember those early medical murmurs? They gain volume here, as doctors' notes on these celebrities leak into society columns, fueling quiet scandals that tarnish the glow. Your own pivot to rice powder feels wiser now, its harmless dust a shield against such fates. Another gentle sarcasm slips through. Ah, the celebrity curse. Fame's spotlight hot enough to melt makeup, but arsenic's chill sneaking in to freeze the finale prematurely. You ponder the broader canvas, how these stories splash across newspapers, yellowed pages crinkling under your imagined touch, headlines sensationalizing mysterious ailments without naming the culprit. The decline sensory arc, from vibrant entrances with perfumes wafting to withdrawn exits in shrouded carriages, the clop of hoofs fading into silence. A third humorous aside. If Arsenic were a co-star, it'd win awards for Best Supporting Villain, stealing scenes subtly until the curtain falls with a thud, leaving audiences gasping. Evening approaches, the rain easing to a drizzle, mirroring the softening of these tales in your mind. You prepare a simple supper by the fire, flames crackling warmly, casting shadows that dance like forgotten waltzes. Nibbling on bread and cheese, flavors rich without suppression, you reflect on the faded faces, their legacies enduring in portraits where the glow remains frozen, untouched by time's truths. As night deepens, you retire to your chamber, undressing slowly, the mirror showing your own untainted reflection, a quiet victory over the temptations that claimed others. The bed welcomes you, pillows plush and cool, fans hum a soothing undercurrent, dreams beckon, threaded with spotlights and shadows, the tragic declines, a cautionary lullaby, fading into peaceful repose.
The morning's peaceful repose fades as sunlight filters through your curtains, casting a warm pattern on the wallpaper that adorns your chamber walls. Paper that's not just decorative, but unwittingly part of the broader arsenic tapestry weaving through Victorian life. You stretch languidly, toes curling into the soft rug, the air carrying a faint musty scent from the night's rain. And as thoughts of those faded celebrities linger like half-forgotten melodies, your gaze settles on the intricate floral designs surrounding you. It's time to navigate the very heart of your home, where arsenic lurks not just in vanity drawers, but in the everyday fabrics and fixtures, turning domestic bliss into a subtle minefield of hazards you never suspected. You rise and wander barefoot across the polished floorboards, the wood cool and smooth underfoot, creaking softly with each step, as if whispering secrets of the house's hidden poisons. The wallpaper draws you closer, vibrant greens and blues swirling in patterns inspired by nature, but achieved through Scheele's grain, a pigment laced with arsenic that makes colors pop with unnatural brilliance. You trace a finger along the embossed vines, feeling the slight texture, the paper's subtle give, and imagine the artisans who printed these rolls in factories thick with chemical fumes. Sensory immersion pulls you in, the faint, earthy aroma rising from the walls when humidity creeps in, a reminder that beauty extends beyond your skin to the very environment cradling your days. Diving into these household hazards, you learn how arsenic infiltrated homes en masse during the industrial surge, used in dyes for curtains, carpets, and even children's toys, creating cozy nests that slowly exhaled toxic vapors. Mainstream history points to the 1850s and 60s, when affordable mass-produced wallpapers flooded the market.
They're arsenic-based pigments like copper arsenite, making greens affordable and vibrant, adorning middle-class parlors across Britain and leading to widespread, unwitting exposure. But as you pull back the heavy drapes, sunlight streaming in to illuminate dust motes, dancing like tiny specters, you feel the irony settling. The same quest for aesthetic perfection that drove your wafers now poisons the air you breathe, a domestic double-cross. You pause in the parlor, sinking into an upholstered chair, its fabric dyed a deep emerald that matches the walls, the cushion yielding with a soft sigh. The room envelops you, gas lamps waiting to flicker, bookshelves lined with volumes whose pages might carry traces from arsenic-tweeted bindings. A modern murmur slips in. If Victorians had air quality apps, they'd be beeping red alerts nonstop. But instead, it's all blissful ignorance wrapped in pretty patterns. Talk about home sweet hazard. You chuckle gently to yourself, the sound absorbed by the thick rugs underfoot, woven with threads tinted by the same insidious mineral, their piles soft, but potentially shedding microscopic dangers with every footfall. As the morning progresses, you explore the kitchen, where arsenic hides in plain sight. Green-tinted candles on the table, their wax infused for color stability, or even in the starch used for crisping onions. You light one experimentally, the flame leaping up with a steady glow, wax melting slowly and releasing a faint, acrid whiff that mingles with the scent of brewing tea. The hazards accumulate subtly, vapors from wallpapers intensifying in damp weather, causing headaches mistaken for megrims or the city's smog. Quirky tidbit alert, some French households went overboard, using arsenic in flypapers hung like decorations, sticky strips dangling from ceilings to catch pests, but leaching poison into the air, turning pest control into a family affair of slow sabotage. Imagine swatting flies only to inhale your own undoing. What a buzzkill! Literally, you'd quip with a sleepy smile, fanning away imaginary insects. You move to the nursery, though childless yourself, picturing the cribs papered in cheerful motifs, toys painted bright with arsenic enamels that flake into tiny hands. The light filters through lace curtains, casting playful shadows, but the thought chills you. The same mineral enhancing your glow, endangering the innocent, vapors seeping into lungs during naptime slumbers. And here's the gentle sarcasm. Ah, Victorian parenting, where safe as houses meant arsenic in every nook, because nothing says nurturing like a side of slow poison with your nursery rhymes. The sensory details deepen, the creak of a rocking chair, the faint rustle of pages in a storybook, all underscored by an invisible threat that historians link to mysterious childhood ailments dismissed as teething troubles. Upstairs in the bedroom, you open your wardrobe, gowns hanging in rows like silent sentinels, their dyes, vibrant scarlets and greens, often stabilized with arsenic compounds, fabrics that brush against your skin day after day. You select one, the silk sliding coolly over your arms, but now with newfound wariness, the material's sheen a callback to your own enhancements, mirroring the home's deceptive allure. The hazards extend to everyday items, soaps in the wash basin, green tinted for appeal, or even arsenic in the glue holding furniture together, off-gassing slowly like a bad secret. Afternoon light shifts, warming the rooms as you take tea by the window, cup warming your palms, steam rising with herbal notes that soothe any budding unease. But stories surface in your mind, families plagued by wallpaper fever, symptoms like nausea and irritability blamed on everything but the decor, until doctors connected the dots in later decades. A light joke bubbles up. These homes were like Trojan horses of toxins, gifting beauty while sneaking in sickness. Surprise, your parlor's plotting against you. You sip slowly, the china clinking gently, pondering how the industrial boom turned domiciles into unwitting laboratories, experiments in endurance against ambient poisons. Venturing to the attic, dust motes swirling in beams of light piercing the gloom, you find stored linens yellowed with age, but laced with lingering arsenic from old dyes, trunks creaking open to reveal forgotten hazards. The air up here is thicker, mustier, amplifying the risks in confined spaces. Historians still argue whether household arsenic exposure contributed more to widespread health declines than occupational hazards in factories, with some emphasizing domestic cases and medical records, others attributing symptoms to broader pollution or poor nutrition. Descending, the house feels different now. Cozy corners shadowed with knowledge, every surface a potential whisperer of woe. You prepare a light luncheon, bread and cheese on a plate, flavors simple and grounding, but appetite tinged with caution, echoing the suppressed hungers from wafers past. Callbacks weave through. Those medical murmurs gain context here, the perils not isolated to cosmetics, but embedded in the walls themselves, a holistic hazard that blurs personal and environmental boundaries. Evening approaches, shadows lengthening across the floors, lamps lit with their own subtle contributions to the air's load. You unwind in the study, book open but unread, mind tracing the invisible threads of arsenic connecting skin to surroundings. The fan's hum starts up, a modern comfort in this historical haze, lulling the day's discoveries into softer focus. As night falls, you retire, undressing by candlelight, the wallpaper's patterns fading into dusk. The bed embraces you, sheets cool and clean, hopefully free of dyes, but the awareness lingers, a gentle undercurrent. Sleep tugs softly, dreams gathering with images of blooming walls and hidden vapors, the household's hazards dissolving into peaceful, whispered repose.
The morning's haze clears as you stir from dreams laced with wallpaper whispers and hidden vapors, the house's subtle hazards fading into the background hum of daily life. But today, those lingering doubts propel you beyond your walls, toward the bustling halls of learning, where the scientific minds of the era gather to dissect the very substance that's colored your world. Arsenic. You feel the pull of intellectual curiosity, a gentle tide drawing you to lectures that crack open the debates on its dual role as healer and harbinger, where experts clash like polite thunder in smoke-filled auditoriums, probing the line between beauty's boon and health's hidden hex. You prepare swiftly, donning a modest woolen dress that swishes softly with each step, its neutral tones a canvas for your still pale complexion, a remnant of those tapered-off wafers. The air outside carries the crisp bite of autumn, leaves crunching under your boots as you hail a hansom cab, the horse's hooves clopping rhythmically on the cobblestones toward the heart of London's learned districts. Sensory details envelop you, the cab's leather seat creaking under your weight, the faint whiff of pipe tobacco from the driver mingling with the city's coal-scented fog, all building anticipation for the intellectual fray ahead. Arriving at the lecture hall, perhaps the grand royal institution, its facade imposing with columns like silent sentinels, you slip into a wooden seat amid a crowd of frock-coated gentlemen and a smattering of veiled ladies, the room abuzz with murmurs and the rustle of notebooks.
Gas lamps flicker overhead, casting a warm glow that dances on polished podiums. And as the speaker ascends, you lean forward, ears attuned to the unfolding scrutiny. The expert, a bearded physician with spectacles perched on his nose, launches into the discourse, voice booming yet measured, extolling arsenic's virtues in treating ailments like fever and skin afflictions, but cautioning its cosmetic creep. Diving into the heart of these debates, you absorb how arsenic straddles medicine and vanity. Praised for stimulating the system in small doses, think Fowler's solution, sipped like a tonic for vitality, yet questioned for its accumulative venom. Mainstream historical fact anchors the scene. In the 1860s, figures like Dr. William Guy published studies in medical journals, quantifying arsenic levels in bodies and linking chronic exposure to widespread debility, fueling parliamentary inquiries that eventually regulated its sale. But here in the hall, arguments fly. One side champions its beauty benefits, citing clearer complexions as evidence of internal purification, while skeptics wave autopsy reports detailing corroded organs like macabre exhibits. You feel the tension thicken, the air heavy with the scent of ink and anticipation, as a rival expert counters from the floor, gesturing animatedly with a pointer at anatomical charts unfurled like maps of misfortune. He debates the dosage dilemma, harmless in pinches, hazardous in habits, drawing nods and gasps from the audience. A modern aside whispers in, if these boffins had TED Talks, they'd title it Arsenic, Friend or Foe, with slick slides. But instead it's all chalkboards and charisma, debating poisons with the poise of afternoon tea. You smile softly to yourself, the wooden armrest cool under your palm, as the discussion veers to beauty's battlefield, where pale skins are both trophy and trap. The lectures unfold like a slow waltz of words, experts quoting continental colleagues, German chemists analyzing compounds, French physicians trialing treatments, each adding layers to the scrutiny. You imagine the chemical breakdowns, arsenic's atoms dancing in invisible bonds, harnessed for dyes and drugs, but rebelling in the body. Sensory pull intensifies, the scratch of pencils on paper as attendees jot notes, the occasional cough echoing in the vaulted space, underscoring the irony of health talks in a potentially arsenic-tainted room, walls perhaps papered in those vibrant greens from home. But the quirky fringe emerges in anecdotes shared during Q&A. Tales of alchemists experimenting with arsenic elixirs for eternal youth, brewing potions that promised immortality but delivered only a greenish pallor and shaky limbs. One speaker recounts a bizarre case of a beauty enthusiast who bathed in arsenic-infused waters from Styrian springs, claiming it built resistance like a vaccine against aging. Imagine soaking in what amounts to liquid legend, emerging pruned but preserved. Talk about pickling yourself for posterity. A gentle chuckle escapes you, muffled by your glove, as the crowd titters politely. The debate heats subtly, voices rising in cultured cadence, probing arsenic's role in enhancing allure versus eroding essence. Proponents argue its stimulant effects brighten eyes and smooth skin, citing peasant miners with ruddy health despite exposure, while detractors point to factory workers wasting away, their glow a false dawn before decline. You feel the intellectual tug of war, your own experiences echoing in the arguments, those wafers' warmth now reframed as warning signs, the household hazards from yesterday amplifying the stakes. A light joke surfaces. These experts are like marriage counselors for you and your poison. It's not you, it's the arsenic, they'd say, advising a clean break before the vows turn venomous. As intermissions break the flow, you sip lukewarm tea from a communal urn, the china cup warming your fingers, conversations swirling around you like eddies in a stream. Ladies whisper of personal trials, mirroring your pivot to rice powder, questioning if science will sway society's standards. The scrutiny resumes with demonstrations, vials of arsenic compounds passed around, their crystalline sparkle under light belying the danger. Experts debating volatility with gestures that slice the air. Deeper into the afternoon, the focus sharpens on beauty's biological toll. How arsenic disrupts cells, mimicking nutrients but blocking vital processes, leading to that tragic fade seen in celebrities' past. You nod along, the hall's wooden benches growing harder, a physical echo of the discomfort in the data. Historians still argue whether these Victorian lectures sparked real reform or merely academic amusement, with some claiming they influenced the 1868 Pharmacy Act restricting sales, others suggesting cultural inertia delayed change until public outcries over poisoned sweets and wallpapers. The sun dips lower, light slanting through high windows in golden shafts that illuminate dust particles like floating queries. You absorb the closing salvos, calls for more research, pleas for prudence, the applause rippling softly as the session ends. Stepping out into the cooling air, the city's bustle resumes, omnibuses rumbling, vendors hawking papers with headlines that might one day echo these debates. Callbacks linger, those early warnings now formalized in forums, the alternatives you tried gaining scientific nod, the household perils contextualized as part of a larger toxic tide. Evening beckons as you return home, the cab's sway lulling you into reflection, the lecture's echoes reshaping your view of that once alluring arsenic. Supper awaits, simple fare on the table, roast and vegetables steaming gently, fork tines cling